with sub-zero temperatures.
Hello and welcome. This is the Market Wrap. I am Agam Vakil. What we've seen today is a little bit of a pause, if you can call it that, considering 3 straight days of gains. And now today we're not looking at too much of a change when it comes to the benchmark indices. I'm going to start off with the way the Nifty spanned out. It's evenly split, and we do have some gains in 2 auto stocks here. In fact, 3. Right at the top of the list. Tata Motors, Mahindra and Mahindra and Eicher Motors. Indiabulls Housing Finance advances by 2%. On the losing end, it's a little bit more mixed, but Reliance Industries perhaps the key reason why we are looking at some amount of marginal weakness on the indices, and HCL Tech, UPL and Tech Mahindra among the counters which are losing out in trade. But let's talk about the broader markets. A little bit of a flip from what we've seen, perhaps in the last 2 or 3 sessions. But for now, we have 3 gainers for 2 losers on the NSE 500. And Shriram City Union now advances up 19%. Dilip Bilkon showing a lot of recovery today, up 9%. Kolte Patil, Tamil Nadu Newsprint, KIOCL all advancing in trade by a significant amount. I'm going to talk about Aster DM Healthcare in just a bit. Cox and Kings continues to take a hit, down another 10%. A lot of weakness seeping into this one. We have weakness in IFCI, PC Jeweler, Wockhardt and Gen Irrigation. Of course, speaking of Gen Irrigation, we must remember that a whole host of these counters are now out of the futures and options segment today, 34 to be precise. So we won't have prominent names like Jet Airways, Gen Irrigation, Reliance Power, or for that matter something like a Suzlon or perhaps even a DCB Bank that will be that won't be a part of futures and options segment. But on that note, let me bring in our markets editor Neeraj Shah for his thoughts. Neeraj, what are you making about the conversation that you're having with the experts?
Well, I think most people are saying that maybe the uptrend is intact. Yeah. There was a day of consolidation. I think we've seen this in the past few days, that the expiry day tends to be a lot less volatile and a lot less perky than some of the others. So the gains of the last 2 days, not given away today, but flattened out completely. So banks did well, and that's probably one shining spot, in addition to autos putting their hands up today. So every day we've got this musical chairs, metals yesterday, Reliance the other day before. Today, the auto names and some banking names coming up. Very difficult to call this. I think today the news around how the news just in the dying moments of trade about how Xi Jinping might provide some terms and conditions to Donald Trump before they sign the thing, brought Dow futures lower, and maybe that weighed in as well. So difficult to say. But let's see, the next 2 days, the G20 summit will determine what the world markets do and therefore what we do. And then we enter the budget week. Difficult to see a full-blown rally ahead of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the budget being the big event
for us at least.
For us at least, of course, in this upcoming Friday. Neeraj, thanks for that perspective there. So we'll be watching out for that. And on that note, let me get in Sharad Dubey to talk about 2 stocks which have actually seen significant movement in today's day of trade. Sharad, what makes your list today?
Well, 2 stocks I'm coming to my list. The first stock is KIOCL, which rose as much as 11% in the day. So if you see the charts, the stock was trading at around 120 odd mark, and it clearly shot up around 135 after the news came that it has signed an MOU in Germany for pellet sale in Europe. That also includes UK. So there are 2 companies, Glencore International and Steelmont, which it will be supplying to. So this company deals in selling of core iron ore pellets, and over the last financial year 2019 it had around 2.24 million tons of iron pellets which was being sold. And this is the management also stated in the press release that they are entering in the premium markets, which will also be going into higher margins will be coming in, especially if you are putting it in the international market. The next stock is Aster DM Healthcare, as Agam had pointed out earlier. The stock was up almost, almost 5%, almost as high as 7%, and ended the day at around 126.75. The stock was, this is based on the news that the True North Fund had sold around 7.4% stake on June 26. But on the buyer side, if you see Ontario Pension Board, HDFC Mutual Fund, Fidelity Group, and even Steinberg India and Tata AIA Life Insurance acquired around 0.5% to 1% odd stake. So this was the main buzzing stocks which are happening in the mid-cap space, Agam.
All right, thanks, Sharath, for taking us through details. So, of course, we know about KIOCL and Aster DM Healthcare, but there are two other stocks that I want to talk about. Actually, news in terms of development. Firstly, let's address Larsen & Toubro's perceived hostile takeover of Mindtree. Well, it is towards the final phases of completion. Well, we all know that Larsen & Toubro did buy 20% of VG Siddhartha and his owned Coffee Day Enterprises. Another 30% where you did have, well, substantial amount of shares coming through as far as the open offer is concerned. And we also know that L&T was looking to buy, well, some more stake in the open markets as well. If you take all these factors into consideration, at this point in time, well, the number tallies up to 59 to 60% ownership of Larsen & Toubro in Mindtree. So, well, considering the fact that this is an endgame, we also understand PTI reports indicating that the CEO of Mindtree, Rostav Ravanan, is likely to resign from the post over the course of the next couple of weeks. Well, whether or not that actually plays out is something that we are going to keep an eye on. But for now, we certainly have seen weakness in Mindtree, which has come off not today, but over the past 2 to 3 days, and is now trading around the levels of 921, 920 odd levels. So we continue to keep an eye on this particular development. And moving on to Jubilant FoodWorks, where we had a channel check carried out by Motilal Oswal. They remain neutral and they haven't really changed their price target, which is around the range of around 1,300 rupees per share. But what they have noticed is that Cricket World Cup really hasn't done too much to the business of not just Jubilant FoodWorks, but the entire QSR industries. Well, demand remains tepid, and dine-in, well, you know, business hasn't done that well. And as far as delivery business is concerned, that also remains subdued. So, may something that may not work as well when it comes to the first quarter earnings, despite the fact that we did have the Cricket World Cup. And one more factor that works against the delivery sales for Jubilant FoodWorks, well, is the lack of rains. If you don't have rains, people are not going to call for pizza at home, and that perhaps could also dampen sentiment for, well, Jubilant FoodWorks. All these factors may not augur well for Jubilant FoodWorks on the first quarter, and while Motilal Oswal is not changing their stance, the rating or the targets, they do suggest that there could be some slackness in store for the first quarter for Jubilant FoodWorks. So we'll be watching out for that as well. And on that note, it's a wrap on the markets, but lots more lined up. Stay tuned to Bloomberg.